Welcome to you all to this special edition of Behind the Music. My name is Andrew Chung, artistic producer of London Sinfonia, and today I've got with me Marie Johnson. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Andrew.
So, Marie Johnson, you have been the second clarinet for Orchestra London and for London Sinfonia for the past 19 years. You've made the decision to retire this past spring from playing, and for now, from teaching. Today, we're finally able to catch up, and this is fantastic. I'd love to talk a little bit about retirement and about your life in music in London and elsewhere. So, welcome to you today, Marie. So,
I'm
you're obviously not in London. What do I see behind you there?
no, I'm not in London. I'm in Bayfield, at Arbor Lights Marina, where we keep our sailboat, and we are still living on the boat. We've returned from a trip up north on Lake Huron, and we just continued living on the boat to enjoy being in nature and close to the lake.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you're doing that now, how many months of the year would you say?
Probably like from the beginning of June to like mid-October. Uh, it's all about the sailboat.
But in the winter months, I gather there is also sailboat maintenance to be done, and Jeff keeps
Yeah,
pretty busy.
yeah. So the winter is more quiet, but there are trips to Montreal quite regularly to spend time with my aging parents, and just life in London. Going on walks and kind of being cozy at home.
Terrific. So take me back to it all. So where did you grow up, Marie?
I grew up in Sherbrooke. Um, that's in the Eastern Township in Quebec, and I was born in Montreal. But when I was 4, that's where we moved, and so that's where I grew up, and that's where I started my musical life.
Hmm. And so you studied in Montreal?
Yeah, so I studied when I finished high school. I went to Montreal. Sherbrooke was not good enough for me. I had to go to Montreal, and I went to the Conservatoire for 3 years, and then I wanted to switch teachers, so I ended up going to University of Montreal, and I did a bachelor degree and master's in performance. And then after that, I went to Germany to a Musikhochschule in Freiburg, and I did kind of another master's, another 2-year degree in performance. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What was that like?
Uh, like Germany?
Hmm.
Oh, that was really an amazing experience. The school had students from all over the world, so it was very fun to have friends from different countries. And the level was really motivating. Like everybody was so good, so you just had to work really hard to try to be as good as they were. And yeah, and you were close to, like, it was easy to do small trips and end up in a different country. And there was lots of concerts. Like, it was very, very a very happy time in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, those formative years where you're in such a intense performing environment, you're soaking up everything, and that's incredible time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you decided not to stay there, or maybe your visa ran out, I don't know, and you came back to Canada, or how did that go?
Yeah, let's say that after I finished my degree, I was married to somebody else at the time, and we lived we we lived in Dresden after that for 3 years, and then we came back and ended up in Toronto. And it was a bit difficult, starting from scratch in Toronto, trying to make it in the music scene
Hmm.
and trying to get work as a musician. So for the first maybe 4 or 5 years, I was doing a lot of French teaching.
Yep.
And eventually, gradually I started more contacts and I started getting a bit of work. And then I had a job with the Quebec Symphony for 1 year, which helped my resume. And after that, I was getting work regularly in
And
Ontario.
and the
Yeah.
Quebec Symphony, I mean, you were probably taking a number of auditions at the time, and the Quebec Symphony one went well.
Yes. It was a big. I didn't expect I had a chance to win because it was a bass clarinet and clarinet audition, and I didn't even own a bass clarinet. I borrowed an instrument, and I saw a lot of good bass clarinet players at the audition, and anyway, I ended up winning.
Mhm.
So I was quite ecstatic with that outcome.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before. So, had you pegged yourself more as a clarinetist, or had you considered yourself as sitting in that second chair and having those bass clarinet opportunities?
No, I just, at that time I just wanted a job, and I thought I was going pretty much to every audition in Canada, and that one was bass clarinet and clarinet. It turned out I did play quite a bit of bass clarinet, but it was mostly second clarinet. So I think they wanted a good clarinetist who was decent on bass clarinet, and I guess that was the strength, to be maybe better on clarinet for that position. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I never stopped playing bass clarinet.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And especially when you got to London. So how did you end up in London?
So after that year in Quebec, I was back in Ontario, and that's when I started getting like opportunities, like to work as an extra musician with the Kitchener Waterloo Symphony, and then London, and also Windsor. So, and sometimes those jobs required me to play bass clarinet. So yeah.
Hmm. So right place, right time. It's actually striking how many professional orchestras there are within this sort of 3 hour radius in this Southern Ontario area here. So
Yeah.
you landed back here. There was freelance work to be had. The London job came available.
Yeah. So after about 3 years of playing quite regularly with Orchestra London, I even to the point that I had moved to London because I was basically there every week almost. So I decided to move to London, and yeah, finally the job came open, and I it was kind of, I knew that if I didn't get this job, it would be really hard to continue making it in the music scene. So I just worked really hard, and I took lessons. I played for people. I did mock auditions. I just that's all I did the summer before. I was just, you know, all about the audition, and
Yes.
amazingly, I was able to win the job.
So you prepared and prepared and prepared. It's like preparing for the Olympics, right? And then the big day comes, audition day comes, and just to give people a glimpse about what that's like. Is it just that you go in there and you play for a short amount and then that's it, or what? Come on, give a little reality check. What is that day actually like?
So you get there, and we were all the candidates are in one big room, and then we get to pick a number to know what order we're going in. And so then the first round, everybody plays, and they would take us to a smaller room, like maybe prior to going into the audition proper. The audition is probably only 5-10 minutes of what you prepared, whatever they want to hear. Then after everybody's played, then you find out who is asked to come to play a second time, and so on. And I had to do 5 rounds.
Five
So
rounds.
5 rounds to get to the final result. And it so basically started at 9 in the morning, and I didn't come home till probably 6 p.m. Yeah,
And
yeah,
this is not like comfortable time that's passing. This is like time where you're like on edge and you know
yeah.
you're hoping everything's gonna work and
I can tell a little anecdote. So part of my preparation, I was following a book to help me prepare for the audition. And one of the things that I had to do was to watch the movie Rocky, the first Rocky movie, and about the night before the audition. So I did watch the movie, and as you know, in the movie, like Rocky just never gives up. He just gets up and keeps going. So I think after round 3, I just felt kind of a slump of energy, and I was started to kind of feel defeated. And then I just thought about Rocky, and I thought, no, you just gotta go and continue.
I've
So
never ever connected you with Sylvester Stallone, but now
no. And one of my dreams is, and I will do it, is to go to Philadelphia and to climb up the stairs like he did in the movie.
I
Yeah, so I
love
have
that.
to do that. Yeah.
I love that. You're such a champion. That's awesome. So you started the 2004-2005 season, right? Your first full season. This is an orchestra that by now you already knew them fairly well, right? You've been playing for a number of years.
Yeah, so because I'd been playing for the last 3 years, I had a lot of friends in the orchestra, especially the woodwind sections, was my probably favorite people in the orchestra. Yeah, and also I met Jeff Garrett in the cello section, and so we had become a couple by then. So pretty much my whole life was tied up in the orchestra. Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing. And it's a close personal connections, and as well you're close as musical co-performers. It's a pretty it's an interesting blend, isn't it? Like
Yeah. Yeah, and
mhm,
it was, I really enjoyed like going to work with Jeff. Like that was really I enjoyable. I know when he retired and he wasn't going to work with me, like something was missing.
right. Yes, of course. Work together, live together.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And so Orchestra London at the time was a full-time orchestra. And being full-time, it's not exactly like that was the only thing that you had to do to make a living as a professional musician.
No, I always had a lot of students. For the first few years, I was still teaching in Toronto 2 days a week. And then I started to build my own studio in London at the same time. And then in 2007, I started teaching at Western, um, which I did for 15 years. So
Hmm.
yeah, and then there were the odd calls to continue to play with Kitchener Waterloo Orchestra. I would go up to Thunder Bay at
Oh,
times,
really? Hmm.
and Windsor, so I had gigs as well. Yeah.
Because as lovely as it is to have your home base orchestra and this close-knit family, it can get a little close sometimes, right? It's okay to kind of branch out and perform elsewhere and just expand your horizons. It's a healthy thing, right?
Yeah, and sometimes, you get to play repertoire that is not done in your orchestra, because you're going somewhere else. So that gives you the opportunity to play different music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so London Symphonia, we do a lot less work. It's still a fully professional orchestra, but it's like we've condensed all that care and attention into really eight concerts a season right now, and then a lot of outreach work as well. Describe from your perspective that difference in artistic approach or programming.
So I think that London Symphonia's programming is very like far-reaching, and like interesting, it you come out of the kind of traditional mold of the orchestra, and because there's also a chamber music component, that adds a lot of interest, I think, for the public, but also for the musicians. Like we get to play some interesting repertoire, like last year, the Grand Partita of Mozart, which I always wanted to play, and I'm so glad that this happened. And I think if it hadn't been for the format that London Sinfonia is following, I would not have played it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we got we got you performing that piece before you retired. Goodness. Well, when you think back over these many years, what's a particular highlight or two that stand out to you?
Uh, well, to talk about like recent past, like when we did the Rite of Spring with only like 25 musicians, and I was quite skeptical of what that would be like, but when I heard it afterwards, I was amazed how good it was, and I was amazed how good we sounded. Like that was really a highlight.
Mm.
And then maybe in the like further past, I did play a concerto with Orchestra London, and that was a concerto by Rotavara, and that had been, a very amazing experience to do that. And then the years with Alain Trudel were like very, very inspiring musically. Like I thought the orchestra never sounded as good as when he was, our music director. We had many really great concerts with him, and it was just a lot more like inspiring to play. Yeah.
Yeah, he really knew how to bring the best out of the group, didn't he?
Yeah, like he knew how to listen, and he knew what needed to be fixed. He knew what to say to make it sound better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a rare gift, surprisingly, amongst conductors.
Yes, it is. I think it's a sad fact that there's few conductors that know how to listen and are able to pinpoint what the issues are and be able to address them. Like, so yeah, it's a bit surprising. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I find the level of conducting is not at the level of musicianship in orchestras generally.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have to cut that out. But anyway.
All good. It's all live. It's all good. In the background, when one is running an orchestra, there's a lot that goes on to keep that core together, to keep everything cohesive, to keep the machinery running. There's a lot of it's a unionized environment, so there's committee work, right? Oftentimes it's volunteer, and you were very, very involved in that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think because I felt I belonged, I felt a strong sense of commitment to the orchestra. I immediately got involved in committee work, and yeah, that was a big part of what I was doing. I attended the OXIM conferences, which are the Orchestra Musicians Conference of all Canadian orchestra musicians that take place in the summer. So I think I took part in 5 of those conferences. That was always very, very interesting, and like a pack agenda of meetings, and like hearing about what's going on in the other orchestras, and not just in Canada but also in the States. So it was very good, and just being part of the musicians committee, you knew more what was going on behind the scenes.
And then when We Play On started up, leading to London Symphonia, Marie, you were instrumental in keeping it all afloat, working hard, communication, all those skills that you had acquired over these years of committee work you put to good use for We Play On. It was amazing.
Yeah, I really worked really hard, and my priority was trying to get as much money as, all the avenues of getting money for the musicians. Yeah, that was I'm proud of what I did then, but maybe I went at it a bit too hard, and after about 5 months, I kind of burned out. I had to quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really intense time. That is for sure. But I know for certain that we're here standing largely because of your hard work. So thank you.
But also yours, Andrew. I mean, you picked it up when nobody else was. So I think, yeah, we should all be grateful to you for
Thank you.
where we are today. Yeah.
And then, now we come to a point where you decided to retire. Performing is such a, a physical act. Tell us about how you knew it was the time.
Yeah, I have been having for the last almost like 6, 7 years problems with my hands and my fingers. I had like 4 trigger fingers that I needed surgery to release the fingers. And anyway, this winter I started having another one, and carpal tunnel, and I just felt like, okay, my body keeps telling me to stop, so it's time. And the pandemic had been quite demoralizing and demotivating, and I didn't have the energy to start again in a serious way. I think because I worked so hard before, I just maybe had no more reserves. And another big part was that Jeff has been retired for many years, and we have things we want to do together, and we should, do it when we're still fairly young and healthy, and we had the means to do it. So yeah, well, that's my 3 reasons. And yeah, of course I felt a bit sad, but at the same time I'm peaceful with the decision. I'm glad that the fight is over in a way. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of dedication, right? To just the maintenance of
Yeah.
keeping the tools sharp and keeping the muscles ready to do what they need to do at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like it's not just like picking up your instrument and playing. There's a lot of kind of tedious work that needs to be done behind, every day. And if you don't do that work, you're not going to play at your best. And doing work when you're not in top shape was not very satisfying. It was, you feel, I don't know, I always have this feeling of guilt, or I did not prepared well enough, or, because I knew what it used to be like when there was more work. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a tricky decision that but yeah, you've got there, and looking behind you, you're in a good place, which is great,
Yeah.
which is really, really
Yeah.
great. What will you miss? What will you miss? Performing or
Oh,
teaching or, any of that?
oh, I will miss, I love playing in the orchestra, like playing the music in the orchestra. I still miss that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, seeing the colleagues, who are your friends. I mean, I still see several of them, but, missing the community of the orchestra. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, Marie, I think we're at time. So, on behalf of the musicians, the staff, the listeners out there of London Symphonia, thank you so much for your years of orchestral service in London, to bringing your gifts, your energy to the concerts, to all your behind the scenes committee work, and also all your teaching, of course, right? Inspiring that next generation of musicians. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.